So you're free, you use Skid Row, and now you're hooking up with a crime partner.
Right.
Where's this person materialized from?
Well, he'd been released, on parole.
This is
So,
someone from Quinton.
yes, not Quentin at the time, was Sierra, the Sierra Conservation, through
Okay.
through there. So all of a sudden you got somebody, there's two of you.
How did he find you?
Well, it was, you have names in common, people, name numbers and phone books. So all of a sudden there's two, and then you can just run amok, and that's what we did. He had a list of drug dealers that we could rob, and or well, we called it collecting on debts or whatever the description of that was. But basically, we were robbing drug dealers.
So you've gone from like a skinny, nerdy, hippie-looking guy before you got arrested to this buffed-up guy now, getting out of prison, clicking up with another prisoner to robbing drug dealers. That's
Well,
quite a
well, the
transformation.
problem is, what do you do when you're on escape? And in a sense, I mean, on television or in the movies, the guy has a friend who gives him all this excellent fake ID, and you fall into a job, and you watch Banshee, right? The guy becomes the deputy sheriff. I mean, that's not what happens in the real world. Most escapees, like Cornell, I was just telling you about that Indian who did escape from the Yolo County Jail. They found him 3 months later, destitute, asleep on a bus bench at Las Vegas bus station. I mean, that's where you end up. Usually escapees go straight back to the girlfriend's house or mom's house and get arrested like 6 hours later, whatever, right? I was determined not to do that. I want to stay out for longer than 6 hours. It'd be embarrassing. Well, I mean, in a sense, you're going back to jail, so you don't want to embarrass yourself.
Yeah.
So we ran amok, and we had fun. I must say, robbing drug dealers was entertaining.
Are you an adrenaline junkie?
I don't I don't know if it's that, but I mean, I'm not a tough guy. That's first thing. I'm not a tough guy, and I'm not an adrenaline junkie in a sense of skydiving, climbing a mountain, rock climbing with no help or anything like that. But I must say, robbing drug dealers warmed my heart. It was it was like being a pirate because drug dealers collect not lots of nice stuff, and I had nothing in my apartment. And the first people we hit were there were two drug dealers working for the Hells Angels, and they were somewhere in.
Did you know they were working for the HA?
Yeah.
Isn't that a bit of a kamikaze thing?
Well, no, because once you're on escape, what does it matter, right?
Fuck everyone, basically.
I mean, you're basically a wolf in the paddock with the sheep, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyway, so the story was that these people had been fronted a pound of coke by somebody we knew, the wife of somebody we knew, and they just stiffed her because they knew he was in jail. So we felt like the white knights on this one.
Yeah.
And so it went down as it usually as it does, sneaking around, reconnoitering the place, the knock on the door, kick the door off the hinges, he flies through the air, guns out. But the unfortunate part was that the Hell's Angel, or I guess he was a Hell's Angel, showed up in the middle of all this, right? And it was really exciting because there were three doors. I could hear his chopper sort of pull into the garage. And there were three doors he could be coming out of, and we didn't know which one it was, right? So we're standing waiting for him. And suddenly the door opens, and there he is. And he's the quintessential biker, with the bandana and the beard and the sunglasses and all the accoutrements, right? And he looks at me as I say, freeze! But he didn't really believe me. I guess I was sweating too much and looking, But my partner put the gun under his jawbone. He believed that, right? So we tied him up. And, well, I mean, there were drugs, there was money, there was leather coats, racks of champagne, whatever you want, Bose speakers, the latest of everything. So I died and gone to heaven. We spent about 3 hours there packing up everything. Took his chopper, took everything, the drugs. And we left the girlfriend, didn't hurt him, didn't do anything like that. So, again, it's like the pirates. Once they have one good hit, they get excited. And they think, oh, is this all it takes, right? I shouldn't be talking like this because you were a drug dealer. So beware of convicts on escape.
How many of these hits did you do on drug dealers?
Oh, well, I mean, as much as the information came in, we do them. So I don't know, might have been a dozen, 10, dozen.
Information like people buying drugs from those people would tip you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
off
yeah,
and they get a piece of the
yeah.
action.
And because the people don't really like drug dealers, right? They know drug dealers are making money off them, so they resent it. So it wasn't hard to get information about drug dealers.
Did your spree just involve robbing drug dealers or did it exacerbate
No,
into other things?
of course you. I mean, because you're basically a gun for hire in a way. So we got hired. One job we got was we worked for the mob in Bay Area, and there was at that time the Hell's Angels were. They decided to go into the sandwich truck business, and in typical Hell's Angels fashion, their idea of dealing with the competition was throwing grenades into the trucks of their competition. So they burned about 3 or 4 trucks, and they were chasing people off their spots, and they were developing this big chain anyway, we got hired to bodyguard these sandwich trucks.
Were they grenading the trucks with people in them?
Well, no, they wouldn't blow people up, but
Okay.
they would wait. For example, you drive the truck back to your house, it's parked outside your house, just puts a grenade underneath the
Yeah.
gas tank, and away she goes. You can look that up. It's they call it the sandwich truck wars. Anyway, so we got a job of we had to cruise the mob also owned sandwich trucks, a chain of sandwich trucks. So we got to cruise all their sites looking for any evil looking bikers hanging around. So that was one of the jobs we got.
What year are we in now?
Oh, where are we this time? I guess around 1978, maybe something like that.
Okay. And did the spree any other crazy stuff on the spree or
Well, of course there were a few robberies thrown in here and there, right?
yeah.
We quite liked Persian rugs.
Yeah.
So it was a Persian rug robbery came in there, and antiques also we quite liked because we were furnishing our apartment, right?
Mm-hmm. How long did the spree last?
Not that long. It was more about months, I guess. Eventually, what happened is that we got too excited, and we started trying to form the Wild Bunch, right, by recruiting guys in, and of course the word spreads. And one fateful day, I'm in the apartment. There's a knock on the door, and the firemen say there's a gas leak.
Mm.
So I look out at the firemen, and I think, oh yeah. So I go back and I got an AR-15. So I get the AR-15, and again, this is another moment of truth. Do I let them have it through the door and try and shoot my way through, or do I try and sneak away? So I opt for the civilized choice. I go outside, and then I can hear the firemen coming out the back exit. And I try to bluff my way past them, saying, oh, there's a gas leak. We got to get out of here. But of course, they got my picture. So it turned out the FBI had taken over the Nob Hill fire station, taken the uniforms of the firemen, told the firemen to stand down, not informed the San Francisco police because they didn't trust them. And so,
Wow. Where did you end up back then?
well, that's straight back to San Quentin, isn't it?
Did that then make it so that your probation would be fucked up?
Well, I
Because
wasn't.
you're an
There was
escapee?
no probation. I
I
was
mean,
an
your parole?
escapee.
Parole, sorry, parole.
Well, it wasn't a parole. I'd escaped, so
Okay.
my sentence just continued. The thing
They
was,
didn't have time for your sentence. That's what's getting.
well, the thing was, there's a reality in certainly in California. At that time, there were literally tens of thousands of criminal cases coming up every week.
Yeah.
So every jurisdiction was just avalanched, inundated with cases, just endless cases.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do you manage this? Each one costs money, and the county has to pay. So, for example, I escaped from Shasta County for that forestry camp. So I had to go all the way back to Shasta County to face trial. Well, if I asked for a jury trial, even though it was a sure cinch conviction, they'd have had to come up with tens of thousands of dollars to put the whole process together. But if I say, well, I'll just plead guilty, I'm making it easier for them. And the quid quo pro is they don't add any extra time. And so they were happy with that. So I escaped, and basically there was not a day added to my sentence.
Wow, you got so lucky. In Arizona, you would have got like 5 to 10 added on probably. So how long have you got left to serve now on that sentence?
Well, I mean, I'd have probably had to do another. Well, because it was originally a 5 to life, I would have probably had to do the 5, and that's about what I ended up doing.
Has your status gone up on the yard now? Because not only have you done shootouts with the police, you've also escaped.
Well, no, that escape isn't counted for anything because it's just a forced camp walk away. A lot of those happen. It's
I see,
it's not.
okay.
We're not talking escape from Alcatraz here.
Was it an easy ride the rest of your sentence, or did things
Well,
happen?
no. Well, it was different because now now I was one of the players. Like it wasn't like it was when I first went in. I wasn't. I knew the system and I knew some people. So when I walked out on the Vacaville yard that time, I remember clearly there was a guy called Doug Orr who was one of the inner circle of assassins for the Hells Angels, and there was my crimey, and then one guy from my county, and another guy, and two other hangers on. We'd sort of now we had the mana. If Do you know that word mana?
You got the respect.
Yes. And so, you know,
Isn't the HA dude having a problem with you though? Because you
well,
robbed the
no,
HA drugs?
no, because the Hells Angels are a very tightly organized bike club, but there's very few of them in prison. They have good lawyers,
Yeah.
and generally speaking, if the lawyers aren't good enough, the witnesses have a tendency to disappear or keep quiet.
Yeah.
So not many of them go to jail and go to prison. You have to be pretty extreme
Mhm.
because they can hire any lawyer in California. I mean, they have deep pockets.
Mhm.
So actually, they're not represented on the yard very
Yeah.
much at all.
That's the same in Arizona. Yeah. The ABs have got the power.